I'm very familiar with Capcom games, from the 90s to the mid-2000s, since I grew up with games like Mega Man X, Street Fighter 2, Resident Evil, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, but there was plenty of Capcom games that I passed at the time, like the game series we're going to talk about today. This is the Devil May Cry HD Collection.
Devil May Cry HD Collection.
This one was kindly gifted to me by Scarlett, who spent $19.79. I honestly know nothing of Devil May Cry prior to me working on this video. Even though my friends and I did a complete Let's Play of the first game, I honestly remember one thing, and that is...
I should have been the one to fill your dark soul with light!
And, that's it. Because prior to this, my only other experiences with the Devil May Cry series was... And funny enough, in Capcom's own Viewtiful Joe. Only the PS2 version, though.
Say the word. Henshin!
Devil May Cry's a rockin', baby, yeah! Alright, jackpot.
And with the only Devil May Cry game I played was 2013's DMC Devil May Cry, because it was free off of PlayStation Plus back in 2014, and DMC wasn't received well, and I can see why.
Not in a million years.
Maybe something for later. Also, I'm not super into the hack and slash genre, with the only hack and slash games I've played being Bayonetta, Metal Gear Rising, and God of War 1 and 2. And that's pretty much it. So, with my history out of the way, this will be a 3-part review covering each game in the collection: Devil May Cry, Devil May Cry 2, and ending with Devil May Cry 3, Dante's Awakening. Now let's rock, baby.
Let's rock, baby.
Now I have to make a quick note of the development of Devil May Cry, since it's actually a super interesting one. Originally, the game was developed as a version of Resident Evil 4, and playing it's very Resident Evil-ish, that's for sure. But the game would end up as it is, and Resident Evil 4 was completed and released 4 years later. Anyway, Devil May Cry was released in October of 2001. The game's almost 21 years old, mate. Let that sink in. Directed by the man Hideki Kamiya, director of Resident Evil 2, and would later direct Viewtiful Joe and Bayonetta. It's a hack and slash. See enemies, kill enemies. Basic, but there's no need for more. The game is really fun, but it's a really early 2000s PS2 game, so it had some age mechanics like a pre-placed static camera, no lock-on, and so bad yet so good English dub.
Finally! I was getting tired of playing your childish games.
Anyway, let's get to the story. The game begins with this monologue, while in the background, Nightmare from Soul Calibur is swinging around the Soul Edge around. A lady drops out of the moon into a city, next to a building with the words, Devil May Cry. And inside the building, there is our protagonist of the story, Dante, who is an underground mercenary according to the PS2 manual. This edgelord over here is currently dealing with the retail environment by telling people the store is closed. Suddenly Bike. And it's that chick who appeared from the moon, and she gives out some details on Dante's past, and she has a job for Dante. And,
In that case, you should be used to this sort of thing.
Are you really the son of the legendary Dark Knight Sparda? Didn't your daddy teach you how to use a sword?
Sword. Haha. Time to go to work, guys. Even as a child, I had powers. There's demonic blood in me.
What's
yeah, some of the cutscenes are a bit over the top, and they are glorious. Turns out this girl's name is Trish. She's here to get help from Dante, and she takes off her sunglasses, and she kinda maybe looks like this woman in the picture. Trish explains that 20 years ago, Mundus, some dude who has been resurrected and wants to open the gate to the underworld in Rockford Island. Mallet Island. Trish tells Dante to go to the castle, and he enters. And here's where I'm going to kind of speed through the story because a lot of plot really doesn't happen until, later in the game. So, yeah. So while exploring through the castle, he finds a sword impaled through a statue. And that sword impels Dante. He gets up through the sword and,
By the power of Grayskull!
Okay, cool. He gets the Alistair. Later, while trying to solve a Resident Evil puzzle, the MacGuffin tells him to leave, so he leaves. Finds the pedestals that tells him to go back. Okay. The Phantom is the name of this thing, and a boss fight ensues. Once defeated, it just crawls into the ground. He later appears again through a hallway. Much later, Dante enters a room with a mirror and a statue. He impales the statue with a sword and drops an object. Then, the mirror Dante walks out of the mirror and turns into this guy. This Black Knight is named Nello Angelo. That's what the manual says. He beckons Dante outside and they have a fight. Once defeated, Angelo takes the advantage on Dante, but then Dante's pendant slips out and Nello Angelo starts freaking out. And he fucks off. Later in the sewers, Dante is collecting an item for another Resident Evil puzzle, and then the Phantom appears again. Heading towards the roof of the castle, the Phantom appears one last time, and a fight ensues one last time. Finally, once defeated, the Phantom falls through the ceiling and gets impaled by the statue. The Phantom, in his dying grasp, asks if he is Sparda, and Dante says,
You're right. I'm his son, Dante. Sweet dreams.
Now with the Phantom fully gone, he is finally able to leave the castle and heads towards this Colosseum. He isn't able to enter the Colosseum at the moment, and he moves on, where after a platforming challenge, he acquires the gauntlets named Ifrit. Heading back to the Colosseum, a giant bird thing spawns from lightning, named the Griffin. And a boss fight ensues. Once defeated, he kind of just leaves. Alrighty then. Much later, while Dante is trying to solve another Resident Evil puzzle, Nilo Angelo appears once more and gets promptly defeated. Chapters later, Dante hops onto the shipwreck and the ship starts moving, and the Griffin appears one more time, and again flucks off after he's defeated. Time passes and Dante is finally able to enter the Colosseum, and the Griffin appears for the final time. And finally defeated, the Griffin gets crushed. With its dying words, he presses Dante and asks Mundus if he can get more power, and Mundus appears, and he tells the Griffin that he failed, and kills the Griffin himself. Trish appears and stares at Dante while he is having a crisis.
He's the one that took the life of my mother, my brother, Shirley.
Dante heads back to the castle and has to deal with this gooey thing called the Nightmare. He hops in the thing, and inside it's the Phantom again. Once the Phantom's Phantom is defeated, it dealt a decent amount of damage, and now this is where the real boss fight begins. Once defeated, it kinda just melts to the ground. Traveling around, he gets to the ceremony room, where Nilo Angelo appears. He takes off his mask, showing his true self. A pretty cool fight happens, and with a couple good slices, he goes down and he disappears, and drops another part of the amulet. Turns out, Nilo Angelo was Dante's twin brother, Vergil.
Virgil, Dante, happy birthday. Wow! I want chocolate! No, I want chocolate!
Mundus informs to Trish that Vergil has been defeated. With both parts of the amulets connected, it converts Dante's sword into the Soul Edge. The Sparda.
Welcome to the new stage of history. The legend will never die.
Heading back, Nightmare appears again, and gets defeated. Heading back to where Nightmare spawned originally, Dante opens up the gate and goes through the underworld. Inside the underworld, Trish seems to have fallen and can't get up, and Nightmare returns again for the last time. And in the middle of the fight, Trish backstabs you. Nightmare is defeated. Dante saves Trish because a pillar almost crushed her, and she asks why he saved her life, and it was because...
Because you look like my mother. Now get out of my sight. The next time we meet, it won't be like this.
Making his way to the main room, he challenges Mundus. Mundus shows that he has captured Trish and captures Dante off guard. About to give the killing blow, Trish now returns the favor, and Dante gets fucking mad and transforms into Sparda. Where we have a shmup section. After that section, Mundus strikes Dante down, and he goes back to his normal form. And here we have the final fight with Mundus. He gets defeated and crumbles and fades out. Back in the hall where Trish is at, and we have the most iconic scene from the game.
I should have saved you.
I should have been the one to fill your dark soul with light!
Dante gives the amulet to Trish and puts the Sparda next to her. Now that the big bad is defeated, since this was kinda originally created as a Resident Evil game, a Resident Evil escape ensues. Making it back to the room where the plane, the floor collapses, and Mundus appears once more. And Dante tries to put an end to Mundus, where he hears his mother's voice. And Trish appears, and she gives Dante's her power. And he takes out Mundus with the power of gun.
It looks like we have a winner.
Jackpot.
With Mundus defeated, they both embrace each other, and she starts tearing up with Dante, dropping the line,
Trish, devils never cry.
A plane drops down from the ceiling, and they escape from the island, exploding the background. Back in the city, Dante renames his business to Devils Never Cry, and Trish picks up the phone for a new mission, and credits roll. The story itself is absolute cheese, especially by the end. For the game, I say it's pretty good. There isn't much to say other than I find it kind of weird how Dante feels about his Trish. Kind of feels like a weird Oedipus complex, but I digress. But other than that, it's fine. Moving on. Control-wise, it's a simple game. You press triangle to attack, and you hold R1, and at the same time you press the square button to shoot. While aiming, you have the ability to dodge roll. It kind of breaks the game with some weapons. You can press L1 to activate Devil Trigger mode, a hyper mode of some sorts, where you do more damage and it also heals. Not by much, but every little helps. Since this game can be sometimes unforgivingly difficult, especially with some enemies. But like I said before, you can kind of cheese most of the enemies with the grenade launcher. And yeah, the static camera really doesn't help, but it's doable. And since the game is rather short, it's actually pretty tolerable. The game is about 67 hours long for a first timer like me. And it's a fun time. Now, since the original game was a PS2, a lot of assets are in 4x3, and I'm glad they kind of kept it at that, even though it kind of looks weird sometimes, but it's fine. And I think it still holds up really good. Overall, the first Devil May Cry hasn't aged super gracefully. It's still fine, and I enjoyed my time. It's a good game. Now let's move on to the second game of the collection, Devil May Cry 2. But that's for next video, and I'll see you then.